Hey guys, welcome to the video lesson for 6.1. So today you're going to be learning about products and powers. So let's start off with some vocab at the top. This says numbers expressed using exponents are called powers. So for example, 2 squared is a power. 4 cubed is a power. 6 to the power of 5 is a power. These are powers. Okay. Numbers like 100 are perfect squares because they are the squares of whole numbers. So think of all your squares. So 2 squared is 4. 3 squared, remember that's 3 times 3 is 9. 4 squared is 4 times 4 is 16. Perfect squares are these numbers right here because they're the answer to square exponents. So that's what a perfect square is. Now let's go over some examples here. In number 1, it says, example 1, it says write 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 using an exponent. So all you have to do when it says write it using an exponent, don't solve it. Just write it like this. Now remember, the 6 is the base, and there are 4 of them, so it's 6 to the power of 4. That can be said 6 to the power of 4 and 6 to the 4th power. In example 2, it says write 4 times 4 times 4 using an exponent. So it says the factor 4 is the base. The factor is multiplied 3 times. So the exponent is going to be 3. So 4 times 4 times 4 can be written as 4 cubed. Notice to the power of 3 we say 4 cubed. Now you are to do A and B. It says write each product using an exponent. So don't solve them, just write them using an exponent. Pause the video, do A and B, and when you're done, restart it. Go. All right, let's see how you did. So in A, you had 7 times 7 times 7 times 7, which is 7 to the power of 4, because there are 4 sevens. Be careful, don't write it with a big exponent because it looks like 74. You want to make sure your exponent is small. Now in problem B, you should have 9 to the power, I got to count all my 9s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 9 to the 7th power. All right, so that's how you write products using exponents. On to the next page. Now, in example 3, it says write 5 squared as the product of the same factor, then find its value. So you've got to do 2 things in this example. First, when it says write it as a product of the same factor, that just means write 5 squared out as 5 times 5. Okay, so that's the first part. When it says find the value, you actually have to solve it. So 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, now in number 4. Example 4, it says write 1.5 cubed as a product of the same factor, then find the value. So 1.5 cubed, remember that exponent 3 means there's going to be 3 of them. You're multiplying it by itself 3 times. So 1.5 times 1.5 times 1.5. And then you solve it, you get 3.375. And then in example 5, this says write 1/2 cubed as a product of the same factor, then find the value. So 1/2 cubed means 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. And when you solve it, that equals 1/8. Now, quick thing, the reason why they have it in parentheses is because that's just showing that the whole thing is cubed. If you don't have parentheses, if you just wrote it like 1/2 with the exponent, that would mean you are only squaring the 1 and not the 2. The parentheses just says square the whole fraction. All right, now you are going to solve C, D, and E. I'm actually going to do C with you because there's a cool trick for it. And yes, you are allowed to use a calculator with this, and I'll have to show you how to use the exponent button. But here's the cool trick. Whenever you have a base of 10. All right, so watch this. First off, that means 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. There should be 5 tens, right? Now, to get your answer, since you're multiplying by 10, you write your 1 down. And then you have 5 zeros. So think of that exponent. It tells you how many zeros you should have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go back and put your comma, and your answer is 100,000. That only works when the base is a 10. All right, now you're going to pause the video and do D and E. So, You could do these two without a calculator. Don't be a wimp. Do D and E without a calculator. When you're done, we'll go over it, and I'll show you what the exponent buttons look like. Go ahead. All right, let's see how you did. So first, in D, first off, 2.1 squared, you have to write it as a product first. Oop, not that. Hold on, let me undo that. Blah, blah. 2.1 times 2.1. Now to solve it, the reason I said to do it without a calculator is because this is a really easy multiplication problem. By the time you get a calculator, you could have this one done. So, let me solve. That's 2. That's 4. That's 1. That's 2. Let me add those up. 1, 4, 4. And let me figure out where my decimal goes. So let me do the L of love right there. So my answer is going to be 4.41. And this is where I write it as a product of the same factor. All right, now in problem E, 1/4 squared means 1/4 times 1/4. There's no bow tie reducing, so you just have to multiply your numerator. 1 times 1 is 1, and your denominators. 4 times 4 is 16. So that's your answer. That's your product. All right, if you didn't have those right, make sure you fix them. But now I'm going to show you how the calculator buttons work. All right, so take a second to watch the video within a video here. So I'm going to hit play, see what happens. Okay, so here's how you use exponents on the calculator. So first, let me turn it on, and let me clear it. And let's say I want to type in 2 to the power of 5. So I type in 2, and you see this button right here that looks like the roof of a house? That's your exponent button. That's 2 to the power of 5. Hit enter, and you'll get 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 32. So let's say I wanted to do one like in the example in your book, which was 2.1 squared. So I would type in 2.1 to the power of 2. And I get 4.41, which is what we got. And one more I'll show you. Let's say I wanted to do, remember we had 1/4 squared? Now remember I had parentheses around it, so I'm going to put parentheses. I'm going to do 1 fraction button 4, close my parentheses. So that's 1/4, and now I'm going to do it to the power of 2. Hit enter, and I have 1/16. So remember this button here is your exponent button. By the way, this button here, you can use it for when the exponent is squared. I didn't show you that because this button works for every exponent. And on your screen, notice you have that little mark to show that's to the power of 2. All right, hope that helped. All right, so now let's go to the next page. On the next page, we're going to go over example 6, and you can use a calculator for these now. So it says, the zoo has an aquarium that holds around 7 to the 4th power gallons of water. About how many gallons of water does the aquarium hold? So in this one, even though it didn't say to write it as a product, 7 times 7 times 7 times 7, that's a good idea if you were solving it. So if I were solving this, remember, I would type in on my calculator, oops, that's the highlighter, sorry. I would type in 7, remember that exponent button looks like that, to the 4th power. That's what it would look like on the calculator. You don't write that down. But if you hit enter, you would get 2,401. Now, if you were doing it without a calculator, here's what I think the easiest way to do is. If you know 7 times 7 is 49, and that 7 times 7 is 49, then I would just do 49 times 49. And if you do 49 times 49, you will get 2,401. So remember, you need a label. It would be gallons of water. Now, in problem F, you're going to do it. Now, I will give you a hint. Since it has a base of 10, you can use the trick I showed you back in example, I think it was C or something like that on the last page. You can use a calculator if you want, but the trick is even easier. Okay, pause the video, do problem F, get started. Go. All right, so let's see how you did. It says Michigan has more than 10 to the 4th power inland lakes. Find the value of 10 to the 4th power. So, if I'm doing this one, since the base is 10, remember the trick is you write your 1, and the exponent 4 tells you there will be 4 zeros. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Put your comma, and that means that Michigan has 10,000 inland lakes. Now you could also type it in on the calculator, but when that base is 10, that's an easy shortcut trick for you. Alright, so that's it for the video lesson. If you were absent, I'm pretty sure that you're going to be working on 1 through 6. And remember, when it says the directions here, write each product using an exponent, you don't have to solve it. Just write it with an exponent. When it says write it as the product of power of a, write each power as a product of the same factor, then find the value, you have to write it out the long way, then solve it. And yes, you could use your calculator for those. Alright, so if you have any questions, make sure you ask me. If not, thanks for watching.